Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. Really looking forward to today's guest, JLD, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire. I've been on his podcast, and it's an honor to have you on mine to talk about your brand new book coming out, John. I love the title, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. So give us a little bit of background on at what moment in time did you think, I got to write a book about that?
Well, first off, Mike, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. I do not take this lightly whatsoever. I mean, we all have a busy life, a chaotic life. And that's actually kind of leading into the question of, when and why did I decide to write this book? Is because, hey, like most people, I was quarantined all of 2020. And I'm like, travel's canceled. My speaking engagements are canceled. All these different things are canceled. I finally need to sit down and write the book that my audience has been asking for over a decade. So like a little background, like I launched Entrepreneurs on Fire back in 2012. I've interviewed over 3,000 successful entrepreneurs. I have over 100 million listens of the podcast, averaging about 1.4 million listens every single month. But I've also been able to turn like those interviews and this podcast into a media empire where I've generated over $20 million in real revenue over those last 9 years and build a thriving business around it. And I've learned from every single one of those guests, Mike, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin. I've learned so much from those conversations, like truly so much, that I wanted to sit down and just finally say, what are the commonalities that every successful entrepreneur has in common with each other? And it boiled down, Mike, to 17 foundational principles. So when I sat down and actually like put it on paper, I'm like, those are the 17 foundational principles that successful entrepreneurs all have in common. And when I looked at it, I'm like, I can put this into a step-by-step format. This is a chronological roadmap that I can put in order from step 1 to step 17 on how to find financial freedom and fulfillment. And so I sat down, brother, while I was quarantined in 2020, and I wrote for 2 hours a day for 8 months, 480 writing hours to make this book, wow. The Common Path to Uncommon Success.
So it made me envision like when you took these interviews, it's almost like if you could push a magic button and get the transcripts and then push another magic button and go word cloud. What are the commonalities there? And look, here's the 17 principles and let's talk about these pillars. So
that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. So we don't have time to go through all 17, but give us a little snippet of what are some of the top 17 that you cover in the book.
So they're all equally awesome and they're all equally important because listen, these are 17 core foundational principles that are a roadmap to get to your version of uncommon success, to get to your version of financial freedom and fulfillment. So if you want those things, you have to go through this entire roadmap. You've got to go from step 1 to step 17, period. That's what successful entrepreneurs do. So let's just start at step 1. I'll start at step 1. I'll go to step 2. Maybe I'll choose one in the middle as well to have a fun conversation about, and then we can go from there. So most people, Mike, sad but true, are going to die without ever even knowing what their big idea is in this world. They're going to die not even knowing what their big idea is. And that's really sad. And it's frankly just because they're not willing to sit down or able to sit down and give themselves the time and energy to go through a very simple process to, for the first time in their life, identify what their personal big idea is, not what their mother's expectations are, not what their dad's opinions are. No, your individual big idea is deep inside of you. Let me get it out of you. Let me get it out. And that's what chapter 1, step 1 is. Identify your big idea. And I take you through the process, step by step, exercises, templates. There's a companion course that comes with it. Like it is a full-fledged process that I will work you through to get you to your big idea. Because let me tell you, Mike, when you can live in your zone of fire, that's within your big idea, you're living a great life. And that's what this world needs. It needs more people living in their zone of fire. More people waking up every day, actually excited to go and tackle the problems that they thrive in. This world doesn't need more people waking up miserable about the commute to a job.
Gotta punch the clock again. We want people that are so excited that they go, "Ooh, did I eat today yet?
Have I even consumed a drop of water today?" Like that's exciting. Like, is commuting to a job you hate exciting? No. But is living in your big idea exciting? Yes. But this is the problem, Mike. people identify their big idea on chapter 1, and then they make a huge mistake of saying, okay, this is my big idea, I'm going all in on it. Well, unfortunately, your big idea is a great idea. And I say unfortunately because guess what? Other people have had that idea as well. And there's other people who are entrenched in as your competition within that big idea, which by the way, is also fortunate because that's proof of concept that your big idea is a very feasible business. But this is where the next step is so critical and so many people fail. You have to discover the niche within your big idea that is not being served. You have to find the void within your big idea that you can fill better than anybody else. If you can remember this in one sentence, you'll win at life. You need to become the best solution to a real problem. And if you can become the best solution to a real problem in the niche of your big idea, you're going to win. Back in 2012, Mike, my big idea was a podcast. I niched down to a business podcast. There were hundreds of them. I niched down to an interview of entrepreneur business podcasts. There were 7 of them. I didn't want to be the 8th best podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. I wanted to become the best. So I niched down a 4th time. It hurt. But what did I do? Everybody was doing a weekly show. I became the first daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. So day 1, Mike, I was the best daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. I was the worst daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. I was the only daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. That's why I won. So those are just the first 2 steps. We can talk about another random one if you want to, but I'll pass the mic back over to Mike.
Well, John, here's one thing that makes me wonder, as scripture teaches, there's nothing new under the sun. Well, there's nothing new in the business world, it seems like. So a couple of these things you're mentioning, I bet you someone can just Google, what is my purpose? And you can find some online guru, some expert that'll say, oh, my way, or here's the best way. At some point, they either are lying to you because you found this commonality in this thread, or they're just trying to, gain and garner the attention of people. What do you say, and how do you help your readers identify the people out there that are just, like, okay, that's fine to listen to, but move on?
Listen, there are some fantastic experts out there in this world, and they're crushing it, and they're giving amazing value. There's also people out there who are so-called experts who are frankly lying to you. Yep. And this is how you can tell if they're lying to you. If they want you to think that the path to success is secret, or it's hidden, or it's complicated, but they have the key for $1,997.97, that's a red flag. Because guess what? The path to uncommon success, it is a common path. It is a simple path. Now, I want to be very clear, Mike. Simple does not mean easy.
Yep.
Building this business, Entrepreneurs on Fire, was hard work. You achieving uncommon success in your life is going to be hard. You achieving financial freedom and fulfillment in your life is going to be hard. But you know what also is hard? Being broke, living paycheck to paycheck, not being able to support your loved ones, doing something you don't want to do or are uninspired by every single day. That's hard too. So my challenge to your audience, Mike, is choose your hard. Choose your hard. I had 2 choices at 32 years old. Was I going to choose the hard of creating a business, Entrepreneurs on Fire, which was really hard? Or was I going to choose the hard of waking up another day being broke, being unhappy, being depressed, being miserable? Both were hard choices. Both were going to be hard lives. And guess what? I chose my hard, and you can too. And that's what I want you to do. And that's why I'm giving this to you. Not for $1,997.97. I'm giving this to you for $17 on Kindle, for $26 hardcover. I'm giving this gift to you because you deserve it. You deserve to invest in yourself. And I don't mean financially. I mean, you've got to invest your time. This is a 17-step process. There are exercises. There's a companion course that goes along with this. You're going to have to put in some work. But if you want financial freedom and fulfillment, it's going to take work. And I know you want it.
I'm a big proponent of, I love quotes. And so when you were mentioning that, it made me think of the one, I know you know this one. What's easy to do is easy not to do, right? Mm-hmm. And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So, hey, you could spend $17, $20 for hardcover Kindle, but if you just let it go in one ear and out the other, what good has it done other than just occupied your time off of the TV or the computer for a while? So make the commitment to implement these steps. I know that even well before this interview, I ordered my copy and it's not even out yet. I'm waiting for it to come. So I'm looking forward to it. But I love your comment about commonality and a common thread. I want to ask, is there a way that there is a commonality in what most people want to achieve? Because you talk about niche, and what I want to achieve is going to be different than what you want to achieve, but is there any commonality in that?
When you peel back the onion and you go down 3, 4, 5 layers in every human being, what we want is exactly the same. We're going to get there in different ways, and we should, but we want the same exact thing at the core. We want freedom. We want freedom to be able to do these 3 things. We want to wake up every morning and do what we want to do, where we want to do it, with whom we want to do it with. If you have those 3 things, if you have the freedom to honestly check those 3 blocks every day, be doing what you want to do, where you want to do it, with whom you want to do it with, you're successful. You are free. You are winning at life. Does that take millions of dollars of revenue to get? No. I mean, if that's your version of uncommon success, then go for it. It can be yours. I've achieved that financially. It doesn't have to be. What you want to do, where you want to do it, with whom you want to do it with, if you get there in life, and you can get there, but if you get there, wow, it's freedom.
And I resonate with that so much, and it makes me think of another point, which maybe we'll just close with this because this is so powerful, is what you really do want is you don't want that boss coming down on you. You don't want to punch the clock or being on the assembly line, whatever work or job means to you, right? But one thing that we need to do is make sure that we're enjoying the journey along the way, because if you strive for that freedom and go at age, whatever, 70, 60, 80, whatever the age is, I'm going to be there. I'm going to have that freedom. But what if you don't? So take the pauses and take some breaks. Take that 2-3 week break every year and do some things you want to do. So talk just one last point about how to achieve that freedom, but yet taking advantage of it now. You don't want to blow your everything on the front end, and now all of a sudden you're 5 years down the road and you've not accomplished anything. But you also don't want to put it off for years and years thinking I'm going to get that freedom when. You got to have a balance.
There's one word I'll sum this up with: gratitude. If you truly wake up every day and you say something that you are uniquely grateful for, I don't mean wake up 10 days in a row and say, I'm grateful for my kids. Like, I get it. You said that day 1. Now, what are you grateful for day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on and so forth? That will keep you in a mind of gratitude. That will keep you present in the world that you're living in today. That will make you realize how much you actually do have around you. Instead of looking for the things you don't have, it'll start making you realize what you do have. And that changes everything, absolutely everything. In fact, that's why in both of my journals, both the Freedom and the Mastery Journal, the first thing you got to fill out every day with these journals is something unique that I'm grateful for. Because that changes everything when you start your day like that. Something unique that I'm grateful for. And by the way, Mike, I'm giving away these journals, that Freedom, that Mastery that I showed you. I'm also adding a third one, the podcast journal. All 3 of these journals, I'm shipping to the door of every single person who pre-orders just one of these books, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. If you're in the USA, I'm shipping it to your door. If you're outside, I'm emailing you these beautiful digital packs of all 3 journals. There are 4 other insane bonuses that go along with one single pre-order of the book. So if you want to pre-order the book, check out the endorsements by Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Neil Patel, Eric Mandy, Dory Clark. See all 5 of the bonuses listed out. There's a video of me jumping in the pool, breaking down exactly what the book is all about. I actually give away the first chapter on this page as well. You can read it to see my writing style. UncommonSuccessBook.com.
Well, JLD, we don't need to say anything more than that. I'll make sure that's in the show notes. Thanks a million for your time today and also the time it took to put this book together. I know for one, I'm looking forward to going through it, doing the work. And so I wish you all the success in the book that I know that it will be.
Thank you, Mike. It means a lot.